All right. So, hello and welcome everyone. We are live right now. So, welcome back to this amazing platform of TUT Learning. And today we are going to discuss another very important topic, that is applications of derivative. So, if you're new to this particular platform, then let me tell you that through this particular platform, we are basically trying to cater all the interest of the students who are preparing for JEE mains and advanced for the upcoming years, right? सो अगर आप क्लास 11th या क्लास 12 पे हो, ठीक है, तो ये कंटेंट काफ़ी ज़्यादा हेल्पफुल होने वाला है आप सभी के लिए कि हम इस पर्टिकुलर कंटेंट और सीरीज़ के थ्रू माध्यम से हम आपको रीच आउट कर रहे हैं एंड वी आर ट्राइंग टू हेल्प यू आउट विथ ऑल द इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक्स ऑफ मैथ्स, right? Especially I am taking the maths part, and in this channel you are also basically seeing lectures on physics, on chemistry, especially for the upcoming JEE mains and JEE advanced examination. Okay, and if you look at the teachers and the educators, they are all from either from IITs or from AIMS, right? So basically, you are basically getting a chance to study from the top educators and from who are actually studying in a top engineering college or top of the medical colleges in their particular field, right? So with this part, let's get started. And आज की सेशन में हम लोग वहीं से कंटिन्यू करेंगे जहां हम लास्ट सेशन में छोड़ के आए थे, राइट? तो अगर आपने अभी तक लास्ट सेशन नहीं देखा है तो एक मेरे स्मॉल रिक्वेस्ट है कि लास्ट सेशन को जो वीडियो मैंने लिया है ऑलरेडी, एप्लीकेशन डेरिवेटिव पार्ट 1, प्लीज़ वो आप वीडियो में जाके देख लेना, ठीक है? वो आप एक बार लाइव टैब के अंदर जाके चैनल पे जाके सर्च करके देख सकते हो, राइट? सो दिस पर्टिकुलर सीरीज इज़ बेसिकली फॉर द अपकमिंग एग्जाम्स, एंड जो भी बच्चे अभी क्लास 11th या क्लास 12 पे हैं उनके लिए तो काफ़ी ज़्यादा गोल्ड माइन होने वाले ये सारे रिसोर्सेज, ठीक है? तो आज के सेशन में हम बेसिकली फोकस करेंगे इंक्रीजिंग एंड डिक्रीजिंग फंक्शन, और हम ये भी क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करने की कोशिश करेंगे हाउ वी रिलेट द डेरिवेटिव टू द रेट ऑफ चेंज ऑफ एनी क्वांटिटी, ठीक है? तो एक बार थम्स अप दे दो सब, ठीक है, ताकि भी हम शुरू कर सकते हैं, ठीक है? सो लेट्स स्टार्ट, एंड before we start, again another very important thing to be basically said in the beginning is that you need to have your NCRT, you need to have your NCRT as well as NCRT exemplar while you are studying for the JEE Mains and JEE Advanced examination. Okay, sometimes in JEE Mains you will find the questions are also directly from the NCRT or either from the NCRT exemplar. So ये गलती मत कीजिए कि NCRT को इग्नोर कर देना, ठीक है? NCRT is a very important and useful textbook. प्लीज स्टडी एंड फॉलो दोज टेक्स्ट बुक. NCRT और NCRT एग्जाम में काफ़ी अच्छा क्वेश्चंस भी दे रखा है और ऐसे एग्जाम्पल्स फ्रेम कर रखे हैं जाकि आपको सीखने में कोई दिक्कत ना हो, ठीक है? सो दैट बीइंग सेड वेरी मच, सो शुरू करते हैं आज के सेशन, एंड वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस द इंक्रीजिंग एंड डिक्रीजिंग फंक्शन एंड द एप्लीकेशंस ऑफ डेरिवेटिव एज अ रेट मेजर, ठीक है? So before we start, another very useful and helpful news for all of you, that we are going to start live batches, especially for the students of who are preparing for JEE Advanced and JEE Mains 2026 and 27. Right. So, and the classes are going to be online. And if you want to take one-on-one tuition, you can definitely go for it. And the prices is just starting rupees 999 monthly. Okay. So, if you need to know any further details of this particular batch, please contact this particular number to connect with me and my teammates. ठीक है, आप इस नंबर पे प्लीज़ कॉन्टैक्ट कीजिए इफ़ यू नीड टू नो एनी फर्दर इन्फॉर्मेशन रिगार्डिंग द बैच रिलेटेड इन्फॉर्मेशन, एंड इफ यू वांट टू गेट डेमो वीडियोस, राइट, you want to take a demo classes, you can get it just for free. So demo class is basically free for all of you. If you're interested to take tuitions from us on online basis, the demo classes are just for free, so you can try the demo classes and learn how we can go about with the classes. Okay, and if you want to know batch related information like schedules, what will be the timetable, and how we will basically go about in these classes, you can definitely contact on this number or WhatsApp us on this number with your requirement. Okay, अगर आपको क्लासेस लेना है, मुझसे पढ़ना है या फिर हमारे जैसे टीचर से पढ़ना है जो अभी इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे जुड़े हुए हैं, ठीक है, तो आप डेफिनेटली इस नंबर की कॉन्टैक्ट कर सकते हो इफ़ यू वांट टू गेट मंथली ट्यूशन ऑफ फिजिक्स, केमिस्ट्री, मैथ्स, बायोलॉजी, ठीक है? तो डेफिनेटली डोंट हेजिटेट टू यूज़ दिस एक्सीलेंट अपॉर्चुनिटी, एंड दिस विल बी अ वेरी गुड गोल्ड माइन अपॉर्चुनिटी फॉर ऑल ऑफ यू. अगर आपको लगता है कि ये फीस काफ़ी ज़्यादा है, डोंट वरी, वी आर ऑलरेडी ऑन लाइव ऑन यूट्यूब, एंड थ्रू दिस यूट्यूब वी आर बेसिकली ट्राइंग टू कैटर all the students who are basically needy and trying to help and take the help of this particular platform. and इसी के साथ साथ हम क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करेंगे, क्वेश्चन के साथ सीखेंगे कि ऐसे क्वेश्चन को एग्जाम हॉल में भी कैसे सॉल्व करने हैं. ओके, सो जुड़े रहिए इस चैनल के साथ। एंड अभी तक अगर चैनल को सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया तो प्लीज़ आगे जाके सब्सक्राइब कर देना। एंड प्लीज़ क्लिक ऑन द बेल आइकन टू नेवर मिस एनी अपकमिंग नोटिफिकेशन। काफ़ी बार ऐसे भी होते हैं कि क्लासेस लाइव हो रहे हैं बट हमें पता नहीं होता है क्लासेस कब लाइव होते हैं, राइट। तो जनरली आप इस चैनल पे देखोगे कि हर दिन हम लाइव वीडियोस लगा रहे हैं, ठीक है। चाहे वो मैथ्स की हो, चाहे वो फिजिक्स की हो, चाहे केमिस्ट्री की हो, हर दिन एक या दो लेक्चर्स तो हमेशा आने वाला ही है, ठीक है। एंड इफ़ यू आर समवन हु हैज़ ऑलरेडी क्लियर्ड योर जेईई मेंस एग्जामिनेशन एंड जेईई एडवांस, और आपको कंफ्यूजन है कि जोसा काउंसलिंग में कैसे सीट्स फिलअप करें, ब्रांचेस कैसे चूज़ करें, कॉलेजेस कौन से चूज़ करें, तो उसके लिए मैंने ऑलरेडी एक वीडियो बना रखा है, प्रॉपर जोसा काउंसलिंग का वीडियो। वो भी आप यहाँ पे इस चैनल पे जाके लाइव टैब पे चेक कर सकते हो, ठीक है। एंड अगर आपको कोई भी जोसा रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन हो, डेफिनेटली लीव दैट अप इन द कमेंट सेक्शन ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर सेशन, ओके। तो जैसे सेशन खत्म हो जाने के बाद आप अपने क्वेश्चंस को इस कमेंट सेक्शन में देख सकते हो। आई विल ट्राई टू मेक एन आस्क मी एनीथिंग सेशन, ओके, इन वेयर आई विल बी ट्राइंग टू हेल्प यू आउट with the placement related information, with the batch related information, okay, like which particular branch you should go with and what is your favorite college, okay। मैं college related specific videos बनाने का सोच रहा हूँ, okay। So very soon you are going to see some college related information and college related videos in this particular channel itself, okay। तो शुरू करते हैं आज के सेशन उसी के साथ। So today our agenda of discussion is going to be increasing decreasing function। तो क्या होता है इंक्रीजिंग डिक्रीजिंग फंक्शन, आज हम सीखेंगे इस पर्टिकुलर चीज पे, ठीक है। एंड हाउ डू वी प्रेडिक्ट द इंक्रीजिंग डिक्रीजिंग फंक्शन विद द हेल्प ऑफ कैलकुलस। सो दैट इज व्हाट वी आर बेसिकली गोइंग टू डू इन टुडेज सेशन, ओके। किसी को कोई दिक्कत अभी तक? प्लीज लेट मी नो इफ यू हैव एनी कंफ्यूजन सो फार। प्लीज लेट मी नो इफ यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चंस। ओके, सो ओके, तो शुरू करते हैं सेशन यहाँ पे। तो सबसे पहले आप बात करते हैं कि व्हाट इज स्ट्रिक्टली इंक्रीजिंग एंड व्हाट इज स्ट्रिक्टली डिक्रीजिंग फंक्शन, राइट। स्ट्रिक्टली इंक्रीजिंग और स्ट्रिक्टली डिक्रीजिंग से पहले हम बात करेंगे व्हाट इज इंक्रीजिंग एंड व्हाट इज डिक्रीजिंग फंक्शन। तो इंक्रीजिंग फंक्शन इसी को बोला जाता है जो अपने डोमेन पे अगर देखा जाए, मान ले मैं एक फंक्शन डिफाइन करता हूँ एंड दैट पर्टिकुलर फंक्शन इज बेसिकली गिवन एज y is equal to f of x, okay। And if this particular function is a continuous and a differentiable function in its domain, तो अगर अगर हम बोलते हैं इस particular function is increasing function, then the value, let us say this function is defined within a to b, ठीक है। तो अगर ये इंक्रीजिंग फंक्शन होना चाहिए तो जो वैल्यू हमें ए पे मिलेगा वो बी पे जो वैल्यू मिलेगा वो हमेशा बड़ा होना चाहिए जो हमें ए पे मिलेगा। एंड अगर ये इंक्रीजिंग फंक्शन है तो जो जैसे जैसे फंक्शन का एक्स ए से बी तक प्रोसीड करेगा वैसे वैसे फंक्शन का वैल्यू भी इंक्रीज होते जाना चाहिए, ठीक है। बट यहाँ पे एक बात आता है कि द डिफरेंस बिटवीन स्ट्रिक्टली इंक्रीजिंग एंड सिंपली इंक्रीजिंग, राइट। तो अगर हम कुछ बोलते नहीं कि स्ट्रिक्टली इंक्रीजिंग है या नहीं है, then we are basically trying to imply that it is an increasing function। so increasing function का मतलब होगा ऐसे भी जा सकता है, ऐसे भी कांस्टेंट भी रह सकता है एंड देन अगेन इंक्रीजिंग हो सकता है, राइट। सो इट इज ऑल्सो अ सिंपल एग्जांपल ऑफ इंक्रीजिंग फंक्शन। बट अगर हम बोले कि दिस इज अ स्ट्रिक्टली इंक्रीजिंग फंक्शन और नॉट, दिस इज नॉट ए स्ट्रिक्टली इंक्रीजिंग फंक्शन। सो व्हाट डज इट अ फैक्टर दैट डिटरमाइंस दैट वेदर इट इज अ स्ट्रिक्टली इंक्रीजिंग फंक्शन और नॉट। सो इसके लिए समझना पड़ेगा कि हमें सिंपल एक बेसिक डेफिनेशन समझना पड़ेगा कि इफ आई टेक अप एनी टू रैंडम नंबर, if I take up any two random number, let's say x1 and x2, in between this a and b, and if I compare the functional output at that particular values x1 and x2, so if I take up any values like x2 is greater than x1, if I take up any values where x2 is greater than x1, and if it is strictly increasing, okay, if it is strictly increasing, मैं up arrow use कर रहा हूँ, that basically means increasing function। so the functional output so the functional output at f of x1 should be less than the functional output at f of x2, okay। so ये condition satisfy होना चाहिए if we are basically trying to talk about a strictly increasing function or not। but यहाँ पे बात आता है कि if I am talking about only increasing function, okay, if I am talking about only increasing function, then what is more important is basically to know that if I take the same thing, x1 is less than x2, then in this case I can also have greater than or less than or equal to f of x2। now this is the biggest difference that basically that distinguishes the strictly increasing function from a simple increasing function। so if the functional output at x1 and x2 can also be equal, so in this case we generally classify those functions as simple increasing function, okay। so now comes our main task of how we should identify that what functions are basically increasing function and or how do we basically classify increasing or strictly increasing function, right? So if I basically try to explain you the simple thing that So from this particular relation, what I'm getting is that x1 is less than x2, right? So let us first of all talk about the condition, or how do we check for the condition that is strictly increasing or not, right? So by strictly increasing condition or criteria, we basically need to have or see that f of x1 should be less than f of x2, right? Now one more thing we have already seen is that we have already found out that x2 minus x1 is greater than 0, because x2 is greater than x1, so therefore the difference will be obviously positive, right? So what if and also the difference of f of x2 minus f of x1 is greater than 0. So even if I divide by x2 minus x1, the sign of inequality will remain the same, right? So sign of inequality will remain the same, and we can write this particular expression over here as follows, right? तो ये हम ratio लिख सकते हैं which is greater than 0. Now what is more important to understand is that now what is this basically term identifying is that this particular thing is basically nothing but it is a, so if I try to draw a function, so if I try to draw a function like this, let us say I draw a function like this. Okay, now if you look at this particular x1, this particular points, this a and this b, so coordinate of a will be x1 comma f of x1, and coordinate of b will be x2 comma f of x2, right? So these are the coordinates of a and b point, right? Now if you look at this particular fraction over here, if you look at this particular fraction over here, it is nothing but it is a slope of that particular line. Okay, slope of the line AB. Okay, so if you look at that particular ratio, it is nothing but it is denoting the same thing, that is the slope of the line AB. क्या ये बात सबको समझ में आती है? क्या ये बात सबको समझ में आती है? एक बार हाँ या ना बता दो चैट में. ओके, सो आई एम बेसिकली गोइंग थ्रू ए लाइव चैट. कोई भी क्वेश्चन हो प्लीज हेजिटेट मत करो, पूछ लो. ओके. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is a very important step that we have already discussed in the previous session, is that now what if I extend or tend this x1 towards x2, or what if I take this x1 towards x1, sorry, x2 towards x1, or either of the following, right? So what if I bring this point B as close as to A point, right? So in this case, so if I lie and write over here that I tend the limit, where I tend the limit x2 towards x1 such that I'm bringing the point B towards point A, then in this case, this particular slope of the chord that we are having, this particular thing will become the tangent to that particular curve. And now we have understood that this particular ratio, after we take the limit, this is nothing but it is becoming the functional derivative at the point x1, which is basically greater than 0, right? So the derivative at intermediate point, if it is greater than 0, then it is basically a sign that the function is increasing or strictly increasing, right? So if you take up any two intervals like x2 and x3, okay, and you again perform the same analysis, you'll find the derivative at x2 will again be greater than 0. So that basically proves that if a function is strictly increasing, okay, if a function is strictly increasing, then the only criteria to be strictly increasing that f dash of x should be greater than 0 for all x which is basically lying between the interval a to b. So if I have any x which is lying into the interval from a to b, if the first derivative of the function is greater than 0, then we call that particular function is strictly increasing in this particular interval. Okay, so interval is also very important, because that particular thing determines that in which particular interval we are going to have the function as strictly increasing, and which particular interval or we have to get the function as strictly decreasing, right? So similarly, if you just reverse the story, and if I'm talking about strictly decreasing function, and I'm using a down arrow for decreasing, so in this case you will find it out that the first derivative of x should be less than 0 for all x belonging to the interval a to b. So in this case we will call this particular function to be strictly decreasing function in the given interval x belonging to a to b. क्या ये सबको बात क्लियर होती है? क्या ये बात सबको क्लियर होती है? Okay, so this is the simplest thing that you need to understand before we start to go on solving some real questions. Okay, so now if it comes to you that ask you basically to solve any questions regarding strictly increasing, strictly decreasing, you just have to find the first derivative, and You have to make it greater than 0 for strictly increasing and less than 0 for strictly decreasing. And whatever interval gives you, that is the interval in which the function is strictly increasing or strictly decreasing. Right. So depending on the questions what we are going to solve right now, we are going to see how we basically need to evaluate these particular results and go on solving the questions. Okay. So please let me know if you still have any confusion, or else you can proceed with the questions. Okay. Please let me know if you have any questions. Okay. So So I think that there are no questions. So I think we can proceed with the questions. Okay. So since you are not asking any questions, so I can definitely move forward with solving the real questions right now. Okay. So I'm going to take some easy questions to start with and to show you that how you basically need to understand the question and go on solving in the actual paper. Okay. 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 So let us start with the first question over here. The first question, it talks about that if we are given a particular function and the function जो दे रखा है अपने यहाँ पे that is given as minus of 2x cube minus 9x square minus 12x plus 1, that is our function, and this question is asking you in which interval it is decreasing. Okay, ना यहाँ पे लिखा नहीं है strictly decreasing, so हम वो particular interval लिखेंगे जहाँ पे first derivative of the function is less than or equal to 0, सिर्फ हम decreasing वाला interval निकालेंगे. Okay, so for decreasing interval I just have to take the first derivative and make it less than or equal to 0. So this interval of x will give me the interval in which the function is decreasing, right? So let us go on differentiating this function. So if I differentiate this function over here, I'm going to get it as 6x square minus of 6x square minus of 18x and then minus of 12. Okay. Now from here, I can take minus 6 as common and then it will be like x square plus 3x plus of 2. Right. So therefore, if I factorize this expression, because I need to factorize this for our Viveka method, so it is basically like 6 times x plus 2 into x plus 1. Okay. So I get the derivative or the first derivative as minus 6 times x plus 2 into x plus 1. Right. Now, if I need to find the interval in which this f dash of x is less than or equal to 0, I'll just apply the Viveka method over here. So if you plot that the zeros, so the critical points of these particular functions, okay, on the number line, so it will be like minus 2 and minus 1, right? And from this, if you apply the Viveka method, since this function is starting with a negative sign over here, so we'll start with negative over here, right? Negative and minus 1 is corresponding to this particular factor which has a power or indices is basically 1, which is an odd number. So the sign of inequality will change. And similarly, minus 2 is a factor from where the power is 1. So again, odd number. So again, the sign of inequality will change. So with this result, you're going to get the interval in which this function is decreasing is basically from minus infinity to minus of 2, and then since 2 should also be included, so it will be a closed bubble, and minus 1 should also be included, so union minus 1 to infinity, minus 1 to infinity. So if you look at the options over here, so you can see option number D is going to be the correct answer. Okay, option number D is going to be the correct answer. Please let me know if this question is clear to all of you or not. So it's a very simple straightforward problem. So this is how you actually need to solve the questions. Okay, and please try to understand this concept very nicely, because in the next upcoming topic that we are going to discuss, the maxima and the minima, this increasing decreasing function is going to play a very important pivotal role to all of you. Okay, so this is very important to understand this particular concept, otherwise you will have a lot of difficulty while you go on to solve the next upcoming questions. Okay. इज दिस पार्ट क्लियर टू ऑल ऑफ यू? सबको ऑप्शन डी मिल रहा है? Are all of you getting the option number D as the correct answer? Please let me know what is your answers. Okay, is this part clear to all of you? Is this part clear to all of you? Please let me know in case you have any questions, or we can proceed with the next upcoming problem. Okay, so this was a very simple problem we started with, and we will go on forward with solving some more important questions so that your concepts are basically cleared. Okay, so let's move to the next problem. And next problem, this is also another type of problem that you can check up, and you can see that these kinds of problems are also coming up, where you have to basically differentiate the function and find the interval in which it is an increasing function, right? So again, a simple problem, but the function is bit difficult. In this case, we have a fraction over here, or okay. So if you look at the function over here in the denominator, it is sin x plus cos x over here. Okay, and then we have k times of sin x plus 2 times of cos x. Okay, so this is what the function looks like, and we have to basically find out the interval in which it is an increasing function. So if I need to find the increasing interval, since it is not mentioned about strictly increasing, so I will just find the interval where the f dash, so the first derivative, is greater than or equal to 0. So here, for doing the derivative, I will take the help of the fraction. So we know the derivative of, so if I need to find the derivative of u by v, so the derivative is basically like u, sorry, v du minus u dv divided by v square. Okay, so if I just use the same form over here, so if I differentiate this particular function, the differentiation will look like, in the denominator we will have sin x plus cos x whole square, and then in the numerator we will have sin x plus cos x multiplied with, and the derivative of this numerator, so which is going to be like k cos x minus 2 times of sin x, then minus, so I'm continuing my writing over here, minus, and we will have cos x minus sin x multiplied with k times of sin x plus 2 times of cos x. Okay, so this is a simple derivative, we will find it out, and if I just simplify this part enough, so I will get the derivative of the first derivative as sin x plus cos x whole square over here, and then in the numerator it will be like k cos x sin x, and then over here if you look at this is also minus of k cos x sin x, which will cancel out. Similarly, if you look at cos k cos square x, and over here you will find out, so this will, so multiplied with this will become k cos square x, and similarly this multiplied with this will become k sin square x, and then k cos square x plus k sin square x will make it k. Okay, because sin square x plus cos square x is equal to 1, right? So we'll have k over here, and then if you multiply, then it will be like minus of 2 sin square x, and then if you multiply this with this, it is also going to be like minus of 2 sin square x, which will give you the result as k minus 2. And again, if you do this multiplication, cos minus 2 sin x cos x, and here it will be plus 2 sin x cos x, which get cancelled out, and ultimately the result is k minus 2 divided by sin x plus cos x whole square. Is this part clear to all of you? Right, so please try to understand the way I have done the calculation over here. Okay, so and then now we have to basically equate it with the inequality that is greater than or equal to 0. So if you look at the denominator, it is a square term which is always positive, so I can neglect this, and I just only have to form the inequality on k minus 2 because it is a linear function. Okay, so k should be greater than or equal to 2 in order to have, so k should be greater than or equal to 2 in order to have the first derivative to be greater than 0, right? So therefore your result from this particular problem is going to be again option number D, which is going to be the correct answer. Is this part clear to all of you? Is this part clear to all of you? क्या ये बात सबको समझ में आती है? क्या ये बात सबको समझ में आती है? काफ़ी इंटरेस्टिंग कॉन्सेप्ट है, ठीक है? बस एक चीज़ समझनी है कि जब भी इंक्रीजिंग बोला जाए तो फिर डेरिवेटिव को ग्रेटर देन इक्वल टू 0 कर दो, और अगर स्ट्रिक्टली इंक्रीजिंग बोला जाए तो ग्रेटर देन 0 करो, एंड देन फाइंड द इंटरवल ऑफ एक्स फॉर विच यू विल गेट द फर्स्ट डेरिवेटिव ग्रेटर देन 0 और लेस देन 0, एंड दैट इज योर रिक्वायर्ड आंसर कि कौन से इंटरवल में इट इज इंक्रीजिंग, कौन से इंटरवल में इट इज डिक्रीजिंग। ओके, क्या ये बात सबको समझ में आती है? प्लीज़ ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड द वे वी आर बेसिकली सॉल्विंग इट, क्योंकि एग्जाम में एग्जैक्टली ऐसे ही क्वेश्चन मिलेगा, ठीक है, जहाँ पे आपको फर्स्ट डेरिवेटिव निकाल के आपको इनइक्वलिटी कंपेयर करना है। ओके, so this is going to be a very simple problem, and we're going to solve a lot of different questions. Okay, especially we're going to solve some JEE mains questions as well. Okay, these were just simple warm-up questions so that you need to know the concepts. Okay, so now we shall go about solving some more questions. Okay, so let's move to the next problem, and this is another important question that I think that these types of questions are very crucial, especially to understand the increasing decreasing function, as well as also understand the basics about the quadratic equations. Okay, so if you look at the function over here again, so let me name the function as f of x, and it is a plus 2 times of x cube, then we have minus 3x square plus 9a times of x minus of 1. Now this particular function, it is talking about that it is decreasing monotonically throughout all real x. So that means that the first derivative of this function is negative, is, or monotonically means is strictly decreasing. Okay, monotonic means strictly, okay, it's actually going one way only. So it is decreasing for all x belongs to the real part. So for all real values of x, the first derivative is negative, right? So how do we compute and calculate this result over here? It is very interesting. So if I find the first derivative from here, we'll get the result as a plus 3 times of a plus 2 x square minus 6a times of x plus of 9a, right? So now if this particular derivative has to be less than 0 for all x belonging to real number, then this particular function we have seen the first derivative that we see over here, this particular thing should be negative for all x belonging to 0, which means if you look at observe this particular function, it is a quadratic function, right? It's a quadratic function, and if I have to have a quadratic function which is less than 0 for all x, then the only possible way is that when we have the discriminant to be negative, also we have the coefficient of x square, that is our a plus 2 times of 3 should also be negative, right? So if I am able to satisfy these two criteria, then I am going to get the solution that the function is strictly decreasing for all values of x belongs to real number. क्या ये सबको समझ में आती है? क्या ये बात सबको समझ में आती है? हाँ या ना बता दो एक बार, राइट? ग्रेट, अमेजिंग। सो अब यहाँ पे क्या करेंगे, सबसे पहले तो डिस्क्रिमिनेंट को लेस देन 0 करेंगे, ठीक है? तो अगर डिस्क्रिमिनेंट कैलकुलेट करें इस पर्टिकुलर क्वाड्रेटिक इक्वेशन को, तो दैट इज बेसिकली इन जनरल और एनी जनरल क्वाड्रेटिक इक्वेशन लाइक ए एक्स स्क्वायर प्लस बी एक्स प्लस सी इज इक्वल टू 0, तो इसका डिस्क्रिमिनेंट होता है बी स्क्वायर माइनस 4ac, ठीक है? तो यहाँ पे जो डिस्क्रिमिनेंट बनेगा दैट इज बेसिकली 36 टाइम्स ए स्क्वायर माइनस 4 टाइम्स 3 टाइम्स ऑफ ए प्लस 2 मल्टीप्लाइड विथ 9 टाइम्स ऑफ ए, ठीक है? तो अगर हम इसको कैलकुलेट करें तो दैट इज विल बिकम 36 टाइम्स ऑफ ए स्क्वायर माइनस, so this is going to be like 12a plus 24 multiplied with 9 times of a, which is going to be minus 36, because 12 times of a and 9 times of a will become 72 times of a square, right? And then we have minus, so 36 minus 72 is going to be minus 36 times a square, and the remaining will be minus and 24 times 9, it is basically 216 times of a, ठीक है? That should be less than 0, so from this if I take 36, if I take like I can easily take 36 as common, okay? So if I take 36 as common, so from this result I'm basically trying to solve it over here. If I take 36 minus 36 a as common, so I will be left out with a, and then it will be plus 4 times plus 4 times sorry plus 6 times, plus 6 times should be less than 0. So which will give me the criteria that either your a should be greater than 0, or your A should be, so from this particular condition, we basically need to form the, we have to basically form the, so if I take this negative sign, if I remove this negative sign, it is going to change the inequality, and then if I plot them on the number line, so the roots are going to be -6 and 0, so the solution is going to be like this and like this, right? So it is from -infinity to -6 and from 0 to plus positive infinity, right? So this give me the part of the solution. So in the first case, I'm getting that, because I have to satisfy both the cases. Okay, so from the first case, I'm getting that A is basically lying between -infinity to -6 union 0 say infinity, right? Now I have to check the second case, that is A plus 2 should be negative. So if your A plus 2 should be negative, if your A plus 2 should be negative, then your A should be less than minus of 2. So your A is less than minus of 2, and it is also saying that A should be less than minus of 6, right? Okay. I hope I'm doing it correct. Just check once. Okay, I think this should be minus of 6. Okay, I think this should be minus of 6, and with this you are going to get the answer as option D again. Okay, that, or okay, you have one option over here, but so A should be less than minus of 2, and also it is saying that A should be less than minus of 6. So if you take the union, it is basically like A should be minus infinity to minus of 6 only. Okay, so this is the more proper and appropriate solution. Okay, so with this you will going to have the answer as option number D. Okay, option as answer number D. Please try to check it again. In case if you find out any calculation mistake, please point me out or let me know in the comment section once you get the problem. Okay, is this part clear to all of you? Is this solution clear to all of you? Please let me know in case you have any doubt, or else we can proceed with the next problems as well. Right, the next problem we have is another very similar type of problem, but I would like all of you to please think on this problem and let me know the answers in the comment section. Okay, so I'm trying to give this problem as a homework problem for all of you. I want to dedicate this problem as a homework problem number 1 for all of you to solve and tell me what is the result that you're going to get. What is this result of 100 times of A plus B minus C? Okay, so please try to solve this problem and let me which of the following option is the correct option in the comment section. Okay, this is a JEE Mains previous year question, and this will be a very interesting problem to solve for all of you, that will actually help you to understand the concept that we were discussing in this session. Okay, so the first thing it is saying that 2 comma 3, that interval is basically the largest open interval in which the function is strictly increasing, right? So for strictly increasing, to just check the f dash of x should be greater than 0, right? And it is saying that f dash of x is greater than 0 for x belongs to 2 to 3. Okay, and it is said that and b comma c is the largest interval in which the function g of x is strictly increasing. So again you have to do the g dash of x is greater than 0 for the interval where x belongs to a b comma c, right? So from these two solutions, so one of them has the unknown a in the function and one of them has the unknown b and c in the interval. So you just solve this simple thing, and from that simple results, if you just perform this algebra calculation and then you perform the inequality analysis over there, you're going to easily get the values of a, b and c. Okay, so once you get the values of a, b and c, then just the simple algebra you have to perform and get the answer. Okay, so please let me know the answer in the comment section. Okay, I'll be very happy to uh, know your solutions methods, and your also any questions you are having, you can always let me know in the comment section of this video. Okay, is this part clear to all of you? क्या सबको ये बात समझ में आती है? ठीक है, एक बार स्क्रीनशॉट ले लो प्रॉब्लम का, ठीक है, फटाफट एक स्क्रीनशॉट ले लो और क्वेश्चन को सॉल्व करके फिर मेरे को कमेंट्स में बता देना. ओके. Okay, let's move to the next problem, and the next problem is a very interesting problem, and I wanted to take this problem to make you all explain the importance of derivative as an application. Okay, so if you look at the problem over here, it is talking about there is a spherical chocolate ball which has a layer of ice cream of uniform thickness around it. Okay, so if I considered a spherical ball okay, spherical chocolate ball, and it has a uniform thickness of ice. Okay, let us consider this is the thickness of ice and it is uniform everywhere. Okay, now it is saying that when this thickness of ice is 1 centimeter, this thickness of ice, okay, this is the thickness of ice. So when this thickness of ice is basically 1 centimeter, the ice cream melts at the rate of 81 centimeter cube per second, and the thickness of the ice cream decreases at the rate of 1 by 4 pi centimeter per second. So to basically find the surface area of the chocolate ball without the ice cream layer. Okay, so very simple problem. So if we just define these bounds, so let us say that the chocolate ball has a radius of r1, and this external radius of the total chocolate ball plus the ice layer be r. Okay, so if I try to find out what is the layer of thickness of the ice at any given instant, it will be given out by this r minus r1, right? Now if I do this, if I take the derivative of this layer of thickness with time, okay, so r minus r1, it is basically given as it decreases at the interval of 1 by 4 pi centimeters per minute. Okay, so here we basically have the solution of dr by dt, right? Because r1 is a constant, so if you just perform this, it is basically giving you dr by dt, right? Now if you look at the ice cream melt, so basically ice cream melt basically means that the layer of this ice. Okay, so the layer of the ice, that is basically, we have to basically find this volume. Okay, so if I try to find the volume of this ice, so the volume of the ice layer above the chocolate ball, it is can be simply given out as, so volume of the sphere is basically 4 pi by 3, then we will have r cube minus r1 cube, right? So if I just take the time derivative of this volume of the ice, okay, so it is going to be coming out as 4 pi times r cube, sorry, r square minus r1 cube. Okay, is this part clear to all of you? Right, sorry, I have made a small mistake, and the r1 cube should not be there because it is again a constant, so it will be 0, right? Yes, so that is like the result, right? And then we will have dr by dt, right? Simple. Now it is said that when the layer of the ice cream, that is r minus r1, is equal to 1 centimeter, so from here you have to basically find out that your r will be like 1 plus r1, right? So you just need to substitute. So from here you have to calculate. So dv upon dt is given out as 81, and which is equals to 4 pi r square, and then dr by dt is basically given as 1 upon 4 pi. So this thing and this thing cancel out, so you will have r square. So from here r square is equal to 81, so you will have the r as 9 centimeter. Okay, so when your r is 9 centimeter, then your r1 is nothing but is equals to 8 centimeter, right? So if you have the r1, that means the radius of this chocolate ball is r1, so that will give you the surface area. So surface area of the chocolate ball can simply given as 4 pi r1 square, which is nothing but 4 pi into 64. So if you just calculate this, it is going to be like 256 pi, 256 pi centimeter square, centimeter square. So with this, option number D is going to be the correct answer. Are you all getting option number D as the correct answer? Are you all getting option number D as the correct answer? Please try to understand how simply I use this concept of derivative to understand how we can go about solving this problem. Okay. Now please try to solve this problem again, and going after the session is over. You can please try to solve this problem on your own so that you can understand like how we basically proceed step by step in order to solve any types of general question of derivative as a rate measure. Okay. So with this particular question, I would like to leave one more problem as a homework problem for all of you. So please try to solve this problem as a homework problem and let me know the answer in the comment section after this live class is over. Okay. So with this, I would like to end my session over here, and thank you for all of your attentions. Okay. Please keep on learning like this. Okay. And अगर अभी तक अपने चैनल को सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया तो प्लीज़ चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दो, और ये होमवर्क क्वेश्चन का स्क्रीनशॉट ले लो, ठीक है, और क्वेश्चंस को करते रहना, ठीक है। तो मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट अगले वीडियो में, एप्लीकेशन डेरिवेटिव वन शॉट पार्ट 3, वेयर वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस अबाउट द मैक्सिमा एंड द मिनिमा, एंड हम खूब सारे क्वेश्चंस भी सॉल्व करेंगे। और एक बार हमने सारे टॉपिक्स कवर कर लिए, फिर हम जेई मेंस और जेई एडवांस के क्वेश्चंस भी सॉल्व करेंगे, ठीक है। तो मेक श्योर करना कि हम आप हर सेशन अटेंड कर रहे हो, ठीक है, क्योंकि सेशन अटेंड करना लाइव काफ़ी ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, और मोस्टली लगातार मेरी सेशंस मॉर्निंग में होने वाली है। ओके, सो मेक श्योर दैट यू कवर द सेशंस ऑन टाइम एंड ज्वाइन द लाइव क्लासेस, सो दैट आपको कोई भी क्वेश्चन हो सकता है तो आप डायरेक्टली मुझसे पूछ सकते हो। ओके। तो इसी के साथ सेशन को यहाँ पे एंड करते हैं। थैंक यू फॉर ऑल ऑफ योर अटेंशन।